Yo, what's going on, guys? Mush back at it with another video. And look, we often talk about games getting pulled from Steam and the Steam store. Usually, there are games that, I don't care that much about. When Marvel's Avengers was pulled from the Steam store, yeah, a little bit unfortunate. Hopefully, you guys picked it up for the couple bucks it was. And, they gave us a pretty good amount of notice before they pulled it from the Steam store. You've got some other licensed titles. There's titles like Transformers War for Cybertron and Fall of Cybertron that I'll go back to and say it is a tragedy that those games got pulled because those games were fantastic. And there's been a couple of other titles. Deadpool isn't available on the Steam store, but this is one that has come out of left field, really out of nowhere, and I really hope it's just temporarily removed, but from what I know, this may be a permanent thing. Spec Ops: The Line is no longer available to buy on the Steam store. Now, a lot of you guys, especially if you're a little bit younger, you might not have any idea what this game is, because if you were in your early teens or, just starting high school or something like that when Spec Ops: The Line came out, I think I was a sophomore becoming a junior in high school because Spec Ops: The Line came out in the summer of 2012. It is a game that I played right when it came out, and it is a game that a lot of people didn't check out, but at the same time, it has amassed this cult following over the years. But again, I imagine a lot of you younger guys don't even know what this game is, or if you were just not into video games over a decade ago. It's wild to think about games like this came out over a decade ago. Every time I look at a game, and on Steam, it's great because they have the release date prominently displayed, and I'm like, my goodness, that game came out in 2012, that game came out in 2013, in the Spec Ops: The Line's case, it did come out damn near 12 years ago, 11 and a half years ago at this point, and it was a tremendous game, an incredibly thought-provoking game that its narrative still sparks discussion to this day from people that have played this game. Now, the issue with Spec Ops: The Line always was the multiplayer wasn't anything to really write home about, and it was coming out in an era where you had a lot of shooters coming out that did have these in-depth multiplayers, and you needed to have a quality multiplayer component to really warrant that $60 purchase. And in the case of Spec Ops: The Line, the campaign was tremendous. It was an incredibly engaging experience, but at the same time, that engaging experience lasted about 5 to 6 hours long. Maybe a little bit longer, maybe a little bit shorter. My memory's a little bit foggy, given it's been a while since I did a complete playthrough, but I would have to think that there were people that completed this game in 5 hours. Now, the game has been pulled from the Steam store. If you look at the page, it just says Spec Ops: The Line is no longer available on the Steam store. You go to the community hub, no updates, nothing like that. I look for updates. Usually the community section is a good place to find those updates. Nothing available on it. This is a 2K published title. 2K with their games, and I believe Spec Ops: The Line did have quite a bit of licensed music attached to it. That is usually a pretty big issue when it comes to preserving these games on these storefronts. Licensed music, how it works, generally speaking, is the publisher comes to the table with an agreement with the various music publishers and whatnot, and they have a term that they're allowed to use that music for. After that term expires, you can obviously come back to the table and renew that licensing agreement, but at this stage of the game, the argument has to be made with a game like Spec Ops: The Line. It came out 11 and a half years ago. Is it worthwhile to renew that licensing agreement so we can keep this game selling, however many copies it's selling every month? Maybe a couple hundred, if that, a month. Spec Ops: The Line just isn't a game a lot of people are buying anymore. It's a game that when it goes on sale, every now and again I'll mention it. But, it is what it is. It's a game that came out 11 years ago. Hopefully the majority of you guys have it, so on and so forth. So, I don't know. They haven't clarified the reasoning for the game getting pulled. Usually, when there's licensing issues that arise with a game, most publishers are cool enough to be like, hey, this is the date where the game is getting pulled. Buy it if you want it. We'll also heavily discount the game if you do want that. A lot of the times, it's also with the online infrastructure shutting down, etc., etc. With Marvel's The Avengers, they gave you a date. They put the game discounted to $4 if you bought it. Obviously, the case remains that if you have a copy of Spec Ops: The Line in your Steam library, it is yours to own forever, or, as long as Steam is alive and kicking. You guys know how these digital buying games go. You know, it's sometimes a little bit in flux. But if you did buy Spec Ops: The Line, for the foreseeable future, that game will be available for you to download. Generally speaking, that is the case. I have a copy of Deadpool on Steam. Can download that game, no problem. I have Avengers. Can download that game, no problem. Play it, no problem, etc., etc. Generally speaking, updates are done as well. You know, Spec Ops: The Line wasn't getting any updates or anything like that, but yeah, for most of you guys that do own the game, you'll be fine as far as that goes. I want to say at some point, Spec Ops: The Line was given away for free on some platform. I don't recall exactly. I'm sure I did a video on it when it was given away. But man, this game was just incredibly compelling. Its issue ultimately was its game length, but from a narrative standpoint and a tone standpoint, it was such a mature story that really tugged at the heartstrings as well, and told you a really grim and dark story about the horrors of war. Sometimes in games, and they're video games at the end of the day, I'm not expecting video games to really go in depth on the true horrors of war, but if you want a game that goes into that, Spec Ops: The Line was a pretty damn good one, and really from an emotional standpoint and a narrative standpoint, engaging. It was a fine third-person cover shooter as well. The gameplay was fine. It wasn't anything I would say blow away, but it was like fairly competent and well designed, so I would certainly, if you never played it, at this point, I believe you can still buy keys from third parties, so that might be something you want to look at, but the game is fantastic, and, at this point, you're not spending $60 on it. That was the real issue. You're talking about a 5-hour campaign, and the campaign was the strong point about the game, and you're talking about spending $60 on it. Well, the game has been at a $30, like, MSRP for a while, and, at the same time, it was on sale for sub $5 or sub $10 all the time. The game notes, Spec Ops: The Line is an action-packed third-person shooter that delivers heart-pounding, physically close combat through a squad-based play mechanic. It's an original title from 2K Games that features provocative and gripping third-person modern military shooter gameplay designed to challenge players' morality by putting them in the middle of unspeakable situations. Emphasis on the unspeakable situations where unimaginable choices affecting human life must be made. Features include a gripping storyline reminiscent of Apocalypse Now and Heart of the Darkness, but set in a ruined Dubai. Tactical squad-based Delta Force gameplay throughout a horizontally and vertically oriented world. Devastating sandstorm, which can be used in combat, a variety of multiplayer modes. Obviously, that's a moot point at this point. And deep support featuring two factions. It's been 6 months since Dubai was wiped off the map by a cataclysmic sandstorm. Thousands of lives were lost, including those of American soldiers set to evacuate the city. Today, the city lies buried under the world's most opulent ruin. Now, a mysterious radio signal is picked up from Dubai, and the Delta Recon team is set to infiltrate the city. Their mission is simple: locate survivors and radio for evac. What they find is a city in the grip of war. To save Dubai, they'll have to find the man at the heart of its madness, Colonel John Conrad. It's a game that's super easy to run as well, so if you do get it somehow, don't worry about that. It should be pretty simple. I never played it on the Steam Deck. It notes unsupported, but obviously some games that are listed to be unsupported can run on the deck, no problem, but again, that's not a game that I've tried. It was done by a fairly new studio at the time in Jaeger. I want to say that Jaeger at this point, yeah, they actually worked on Dreadnought, the free-to-play game released back in 2018, so yes, Spec Ops was like their very first title, and as far as Steam reception goes, 52,000 reviews, 93% of those reviews are positive, so obviously people thought fairly highly about it from a Steam reception standpoint, and yeah, just remember this game very vividly, playing it, and I was like 16 years old when I was playing this game, and yeah, a 16-year-old, like a teenager still, playing Spec Ops: The Line, that was a pretty wild trip to say the least. Like, back in the day, especially in high school, you're playing a lot of games like your Gears of Wars, your Killzones even, and I was having fun with all those games, but Spec Ops: The Line, from a shooter standpoint, was a little bit more compelling in terms of telling you a real, I don't want to say horrific story, but a more emotionally engrossing story. And, elements of Gears were emotionally engrossing, but not the way Spec Ops was, to say the least. But that'll do it for me. If you guys have any memories of this game, let me know in the comments section down below. Again, hopefully it's a situation of the game got pulled for whatever reason, and maybe they're working on doing the licensing agreement and renewing it. Given it's 2K, I don't really put that on the table, but who knows? We've seen crazier. Maybe they're doing a remaster of this game would be effing effing awesome. And this is a game that I feel like you release it on the PS4, PS5, Xbox Series, whatever, and you can introduce this game to a new audience in 2024, and I feel like just based on word of mouth, a lot more people would check it out. But that's my 2 cents. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below. As always, thanks for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace out. Hey, what's going on, guys? Mush here again. Hope you enjoyed the video. As you guys might know, YouTube's notification system is sometimes a little bit wonky, even if you're subscribed to the channel. Maybe you're not abundantly aware that I uploaded a video. To remedy that situation, make sure you hit the bell notification button. This way, whenever I upload a new video, and I try to upload as consistently as possible, you will be notified directly of the upload, and you can watch it as soon as it goes live. I would really appreciate if you guys hit that button so you can stay up to date with all of the content I'm posting. But as always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.